Hey guys, Adam from Lazy Guy DIY, and today I'm going to show you how to make a knife out of wood. So first off, I love shows like Forged in Fire, where they take a raw piece of metal and they come out with a knife that looks something like this. I cannot do that. I don't know how to use metal machines. I don't know how to do any metal work whatsoever, but I am a woodworker and I know how to make stuff with wood. So that is the reason why I made a wooden knife. And you're like, oh, why a wooden knife? You can't cut through a lot of stuff. But you can use this for something like cakes or soft cheeses or even fruits. And that's the whole point of them. It's more of like, think of like a cutting board. People worry about like bacteria or anything else getting there. It's got a food safe coating on it, so you don't have to worry about that. You just hand wash them. And you're not cutting anything hard like you would be scoring up a cutting board with a metal knife. So you don't have to worry about anything soaking in there. So it's very simple to do. It's made out of canary wood for the scales and coffee wood here for the actual blade. You can use whatever type of wood you want. It's very simple. I'm going to show you how. The first thing I did was I pulled out this piece of coffee wood that I've been hanging on to. Then I grabbed a knife that was roughly the size I was looking for and then traced it. Make sure you don't draw on the blade like I did. Then I pulled out the scroll saw and started cutting. I wish I had more video for you here, but actually I was cutting away and didn't realize that my camera ran out of battery. Whoops. If you're using a dull blade on your scroll saw like I am, or maybe you just don't have a scroll saw, you can always pull out a jigsaw and cut out your pattern that way. Next up, it's time to pull out the spindle sander. Actually, this is a belt sander right now, but you'll see I have spindles that I use as well on this, but I had a ton of material to remove on here, and we'll touch on that a little bit more. The piece was a little thicker than what I needed, and I'll show you how I fixed that here in a second. Here's a point also where I would have done something a little bit differently. I'm getting ready to put the spindles on and I'm going to start shaping the handles. At this point I was only planning on using the coffee wood, but then I decided I wanted to add scales and use canary wood also. But what I would do is hold off on shaping the handles at this point. So I definitely have way too much material on this knife. It's way too thick. So what I do is I take double-sided tape that I use for my router jigs. It sticks to everything. I put it on here and I run it through a board and I run it through the thickness planer. Now you may freak out and say, oh, is it going to go flying off? No, the double-sided tape sticks like crazy. So I passed it through a bunch of times here and I got to the thickness that was going to be a little more manageable to work with. Now this is the point where I decided I'm going to put the scales on a canary wood. I already had these pieces all cut up. It's just scrap. You can see that I have the burn marks from the saw blades, but I knew I could use this and have no problems. So I used Titebond 2 here. I spread it out, I smoothed it over, and I got ready to clamp these up. You don't need to go crazy here with your clamps. I put 3 on, but I did let this set overnight so I had maximum drying time. Here's where you can do something a little smarter than what I did. Because I put the scales on after I shaped the handle, I then had to go in with my router table and a flush trim bit and run it through here. It's not ideal because the angles aren't great, but it did end up working pretty well. I had a couple pieces chip off, but I was able to sand it off later. If I'd planned a little better, I probably should have made the scales of the canary wood a little bit thinner because we are back on the sander again and there is so much material to remove. I probably took about an hour on here with the spindle sander and the belt sander, and I just basically worked on the basic shape of what I was looking for as the handle, the grip zone, and then the blade. So you just have to keep going until you get it right and it's the right feel for your hand. So handle took the longest bit of time and then I started working on the blade. You have to be careful though that you don't remove too much and have an uneven blade. Unfortunately, you're not done sanding. It's time to hand sand. I'm using these sanding sponges from Gator Finishes. They are great. I went through the progressions of grit. I started at 80 and went all the way up to 400. So you're just going to keep sanding, get the finish you want, get the right edges. You can still do a lot more shaping with the lower grits, and once you get to the top, you're trying to get that sharp edge here. So just keep going, and then make sure you do a wipe down coat in between to raise the grain, and then hit it again with that 400 grit. Before we apply our finish coat, we're going to use a tack cloth here to wipe off any residual dust. Make sure you get in all the nooks and crannies because when you apply the finish, you want it nice and smooth. For the finish coat, I'm using walrus oil. They have cutting board oil that is food safe, so that is a perfect application for a knife like this. So a little bit goes a long way. Rub it on by hand or by cloth. Put it on the scales and the blade. I mix it in pretty good. I let it dry here for a few minutes, and then any excess I rubbed off with the dry cloth. Let it sit overnight and you are good to go.
This is a great little project that you can easily complete on a weekend. It's perfect for a wedding gift or even an anniversary. But if you like what you see, make sure you hit the subscribe button and head on over to LazyGuyDIY.com.